Welcome back to another edition of the Edge podcast. Publisher Brenden Slaughter here for BeaversEdge.com, joined by Beavers Edge writer and KEGO radio host TJ Mathewson. We're back with another edition of the Edge podcast. Oregon State has its bowl destination, taking on the Florida Gators in the Las Vegas Bowl on December 17th. Beavers Edge will be there bringing you guys live coverage, but we wanted to get into all the news and notes that has kind of percolated up with the Oregon State football team these last couple days. And here next week, we'll be getting taking a deep dive into the bowl game and the Florida Gators at large. But TJ, welcome back to the pod, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm, short a trip to Vegas, unlike you, but I assume you will go there and have all the fun I would have in Vegas without me. You'll do it for me. I think you'll do a good job.
If you didn't have to work, man, I'd have you be there in a heartbeat too. So it's like, I could use your company down there for sure, but we'll be okay.
It's a good bowl destination to go to. It's just so many hotel rooms. And I honestly, I'm 24, Vegas is Vegas. The concept of Vegas is awesome. Yeah. It really is. It has everything you need for a weekend.
TJ, and again, for like you said, for a person in their 20s, it's I no complaints. Like I said, it was airfare, which I'm sure Beaver fans have kind of talked about all the way around, seemingly jumped hundreds of dollars in about a span of 4 hours. But for those Beaver fans who get to go, it's going to be an awesome experience. And again, next week we'll be getting more into the Florida Gators, kind of diving into that matchup. But just to kind of start the podcast, we got a whole bunch of news to start off with, but I guess we have to start off with the true winners, TJ, and we got to give Jack Colletto some props. Paul Hornung Award winner today, the most versatile player in college football. Jack Colletto, take a bow. I mean, TJ, this award was made for him, right? There's no one else in the country who could have, taken his mantle, right?
A lot of the people who had won this award, it was a combination of offensive or defensive skill position and then a returner, which is versatile in and of itself.
For sure.
But the true meaning is the award, as you said, if truly the most versatile player, I mean, it has to be Jack Colletto. He's only one of those guys, the finalists. I was trying to find the list of finalists. I don't know if you have them up. I can't remember if I'm just combing this document really quick to see if I can find it. But I don't see all the other finalists on here. Regardless, right? All the other finalists, all their other versatile attribute was being a returner. Again, an incredibly valuable attribute if you're a good returner. But it really kind of takes away from the point of Jack Colletto playing on both sides of the ball, playing 4 different positions, essentially.
Yeah.
Linebacker, tight end, fullback, and quarterback.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That kind of takes away from the value of him. I'm glad he won it. I'm glad.
Not to mention all his special teams contributions on top of that, TJ.
Right.
I mean, he's potential. I think he's one of the guys, one of the first guys in front of the returners on kick returns. I believe he's been on some punt blocks situations this year as well. But real quick, TJ, I don't have the list of finalists, but I do have some past winners, and I got to list off some of these winners just because it's kind of cool, and I think you got to keep it in perspective. So let's go back to 2012. In the last 10 years, Tavon Austin at West Virginia, pretty electric dude.
He's good.
This guy named Odell Beckham from LSU.
Also pretty good.
Don't know if you heard about him. Shaq Thompson.
Might have heard about his recruiting tour.
Shaq Thompson, linebacker, safety, and running back at UW. Been with Carolina Panthers for many, many years now. This guy named Christian McCaffrey, also, not bad. Jabril Peppers, Saquon Barkley, Rondale Moore, Lynn Bowden, Devonta Smith, and Marcus Jones are the winners of the last 10 years. I think it's safe to say 85, 90 to 100%. I need to confirm on some of those other guys are in the NFL. So, Again, it's not like it's a criteria, but let's take this a step further, TJ, because this is fun. Could Jack Colletto be the Taysom Hill for some team?
Could be. Taysom Hill's a pretty good athlete. I don't know if Jack has those wheels per se, but theoretically, yes, he could be.
Do you think he'll get a serious look at the next level? I mean, I only say this because, Jack is, he's redshirt senior. This is it after the bowl game. And, like I said, you throw his name up with all those guys. I'm pretty sure every one of those guys at least got a look in the NFL. Granted, I don't see a linebacker slash fullback slash running back amongst that group,
Mm-hmm.
except for Jabril Peppers, I guess, fits in that mix a little
Right.
bit. Maybe Christian McCaffrey, Shaq Thompson. But yeah, I mean, based
Lynn
on
Bowden played some quarterback as well.
is he in
So
is he in the NFL or no?
I think
He would be the one.
so.
I'm
I
not
think he might
sure.
be
I'm not.
hurt.
Gotcha. So he'd be the one I wasn't
Pretty
sure
sure he
of.
was a Giant.
But yeah, for
Let's
the
see.
most part, I mean, just an extremely talented list of players there, TJ. And for Jack Colletto to be mentioned in the same kind of breath as those guys, all of whom, which at least got a look or, on contracts
He's a
in the
Patriot.
NFL. Yeah, so there you go. I think that's unbelievably impressive. And I kind of want to live in this world where Jack Colletto could get a serious look at maybe a couple different, like Swiss Army knife kind of positions in the NFL. Could you see it?
I could. Those guys are always very valuable, especially special teamers. Like you can make a career in the NFL just playing special teams for the most part. You're not going to get paid the big
Right.
bucks, but good special teams players are always needed. They're key to any really great team. So
Right.
if that's the role that Jack Colletto carves out, great. If he decides to be a fullback, great. Maybe he wants to bulk up and become a blocking tight end. Okay. I'm not sure if he would make it as a linebacker because, especially since he sort of saw his snaps go down as the season went on at that linebacker spot. So I
Right.
don't know about that. But, there's always a chance he's going to work out. He's going to try and impress some scouts. And I think, if he finds the right fit, it would be valuable for him. Stat here from the Horning Award release. First FBS player since 2013 to record at least 10 tackles, catch at least one pass, throw for at least one completion, and rush for at least one score in the same season.
Yeah. Well, and here's that is interesting. And here's the interesting kick with it too is what we know about Jack Colletto, TJ. He's a mechanical engineering major. Even if he didn't decide to do football, Jack Colletto is one of those guys I have a feeling will succeed in whatever he does in life. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like the
Yeah.
Midas touch, right? Like it's going to gold wherever
Yeah.
he goes.
Lucrative career.
He's a smart cookie, right? You have to be in the quarterback room, the linebacker room, and then apparently managing a mechanical engineering degree. I mean, don't get me wrong. I went to Oregon State too, but I certainly wasn't majoring in engineering. So that's a whole different level of impressiveness. So again, props to Jack Colletto. Big time award, big time notoriety too, TJ, for Oregon State in some ways too, because you look at some of the names on that list. That could certainly just help the exposure, right?
It could, yeah. Well, you look at that list, you're seeing first-round picks, you're seeing Heisman finalists, you're seeing
Right.
Heisman winners on there, Devontae Smith of 2020.
Yeah, that's pretty
so
cool.
He's part of that group now.
That fraternity is like 12
Yeah.
dudes because the award I think started in 2010, so it's a really short fraternity. Dude, I go hang out and rub shoulders with some guys in that group. So, I would imagine some of those guys will be go ahead.
They have the Heisman house. They need a hoarding house too. I think.
I love it.
Dr. Pepper.
No, I mean,
Dr. Pepper should do that one too. Put Jack in there.
Right. No, that'd be awesome. I was reading something that he'll get honored in March, so I would be willing to bet that with that timeline, TJ, a whole bunch of those former winners are probably going to be there while they honor Jack. So could be a super special moment for Jack. So again, the journey that he has, I remember when, he came in as a quarterback in 2018, seems like a long time ago, and his journey's been incredible. But not the only bit of news. Also, a couple other things to get to. Let's start with the Pac-12 awards, TJ. Jonathan Smith has been named the Coach of the Year with Kalen DeBoer sharing the honor, while Damian Martinez takes home the Offensive Freshman of the Year. We'll get to some of the other guys that were mentioned as well, but just right off the bat, how impressive, particularly for Jonathan. We know that's a job well-deserved in many, many aspects. I mean, to win 9 games at Oregon State, it's impressive to be on the doorstep of 10. And then Damian Martinez, I mean, I don't really know if there was a freshman who was as effective as him in the conference this year.
No, there wasn't. Really happy for Damian. That was sort of a slam dunk, especially when he got rolling towards the end of the year. As soon as he sees that starting role, you kind of saw like, yeah, he's going to win this award.
Right.
For Jonathan, I don't have a strong opinion that he should have been the unanimous. We see him every day, right? I don't think it would have been the wrong decision to choose either Kalen DeBoer or or
Right.
Jonathan Smith as Pac-12 Coach of the Year. I mean, remember, if USC doesn't lose in the Pac-12 championship game, Kalen DeBoer in his first season is going to a Rose Bowl, right? That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And when these two head coaches faced off, yeah, DeBoer did win. It doesn't ultimately boil down to that, but both did just the impressive jobs, like really impressive jobs. So I'm happy for Jonathan, though. Does he get half a trophy? Or does he get a full
one? I don't think he gets half a trophy, TJ, but he does get a $25,000 contract bonus for being Pac-12 Coach of the Year. So that'll make
he'll take that. He'll take that.
Christmas in the Smith household will be very lucrative this year. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
They'll be back from the bowl game. They'll be back from the bowl game. TJ, signing day will already be over. It'll be smooth sailing in the Smith household this year at Christmas. Let me tell you.
The thing that sort of caught my eye this week, though, and it can't be like surprising the disparity between national level and conference level awards. It was Lincoln Riley who was getting all the love for National Coach of the Year. And I'm sitting there thinking that, and I thought Lincoln did a pretty good job this year, really did. But I feel like the standard for Coach of the Year at USC is 12-0. Not 11-2, 12-0. That, like, for USC to do that with the guys you're able to get at that program, like, to win that award, like, I mean, USC either would have had to have been like 1-11 last year, or they would have gone 12-0. They would be 12-0 right now, or 13-0 in the playoff right now.
Yeah.
If Lincoln Riley's going to win Coach of the Year, if they went 13-0, okay, he's Coach of the Year. I have no problem with that. But 11-2 at USC with, a handpicked transfer portal roster. Or 10-2 at Washington with a 4-8 roster. I mean, Lincoln Riley and Kalen DeBoer both inheriting 4-8 rosters from last season. And then Jonathan Smith with, one of the hardest jobs in the country to coach at Oregon State, bringing them to 9-3 and potentially 10-3 season. And it's just a whole bunch of, juggling there. I kind of separate Jonathan and DeBoer from the bunch because I think it was just a little bit harder for them than it would be for good old Lincoln down there in Southern Cal.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think a lot of people, USC's the darlings, right? We've come to the point where whether you agree or not, college football is going to get drunk on USC when they're good. That's just that's how it is. The overhype, the everything about it. And, that's where I think, Lincoln had a case to maybe be in the mix if they were ever going to do. I don't think they'd do more than two coaches, but only because, like I said, USC was 4-8, but like you said, a handpicked transfer portal roster. I think there's also a strong case for Big Wit over in Salt Lake City, Kyle Whittingham, man.
Yeah, I didn't even mention him. Yeah, I didn't.
Just proves
the guy who actually won the conference.
Just proves again, man, that I don't know, to beat USC twice, to put over, I think it was something like over 80 points on that defense in 2 games. I get they were not the greatest defense, but what did Oregon State put up on them? In the teens. So I think that was impressive. They knew what they were doing for taking out the Trojans. But at the same token, like you said, Washington was dismal last year, arguably the lowest point in the program since they went 0-12 in 2008. So so that's a part of it too. And then, like you said, I think ultimately when you step back and realize that Corvallis is the hardest place to win of all of them, and it's not even close, compared to like USC and UW, for example. Yeah, that's where I think Jonathan absolutely deserved it. So again, kudos to Jonathan. Kudos to Damian as well. Want to run through some of the other ones as well. First teamers, Jack Colletto, Anthony Gould, Martinez, as we mentioned, Omar Spates, and Rajon Wright. Second teamers, Silas Bolden as a kick returner, Talise Fuaga up on the offensive line, Jaden Grant, and then Joshua Gray up on the O-line as well. And then handful of honorable mentions, Alex Austin, Ryan Cooper, Kyrie Fisher-Morris, Trayshawn Harrison, Brandon Kipper, Jake Levengood, punter Luke Loescher, defensive lineman Sione Lolohea, Kitano Ladapo, James Rawls round out the honorable mention. So when you win 9 games, TJ, you're going to have a lot of honorees. And I think that's the best thing about Oregon State here is you've got a lot of guys representing the conference kind of up and down across the teams. And, this is a bunch of well-deserved honors for guys that took that next step. You talk about a program last year that went 7-6, lost the bowl game and was kind of just kind of starting to find its legs. And then this year you go to a team that's on the doorstep of 10. So I think considering all that, kudos to all these guys. All these awards are absolutely deserved.
And this is the most, I'm double checking here because I know Oregon State tweeted out, I believe this is the most awarded Oregon State team of all time. Where is it?
Yes.
Trying to find it. They did tweet it out.
Yeah, 19. So the 19 selections are the most since 2008 when the Beavers had 18. And that Oregon State team in 18, that Oregon State team in 08, TJ, came up one game short of the Rose Bowl. So
right. What they say, most all Pac-12 honorees in modern program history. I don't know where they cut the line off there, but
yeah,
it's good. That is a reflection on the development, not the recruiting, the development of all these guys, and especially something you didn't even think about. You have 2 all-conference returners too. That's rare.
Yeah, right.
As your punt and kick returner are both all-conference.
And how about the fact that
that's pretty impactful?
How about the fact both those guys are going to be back next year? Right.
So
now you starting to think towards the offseason a little bit too. And again, we'll be saving a bunch of our deep portal talk when we bring in our recruiting guy Dylan on our early edition of next week's pod. Next week's pod is going to be great too. We're going to be kind of bowl game deep into the transfer portal too. So you don't want to miss that. Stay tuned to BeaversEdge.com. But in addition to all that, TJ, a couple more pieces of news just to cross off the ledger here. Damian Martinez and Jack Velling were also freshman All-Americans by College Football News, which again, first Beavers recognized as first-team selections as freshmen since 2019. So just more recognitions. I mean, we kind of knew that Damian Martinez was going to be looked at in a big-time light, but to see someone give Jack Velling some love too, I think is cool and can definitely, it kind of shows that they believe he could kind of continue to grow into that player, maybe be that next great Oregon State receiving tight end. And then speaking of tight ends, the news that Luke Musgrave officially declared for the NFL draft. He joins Rajon Wright as the 2 Beavers who will not see action in the bowl game. Rajon obviously going to be out due to injury, and then Musgrave, combination of injury or just holding out and not playing to this point. So why would he play in the bowl game? So it's interesting. I just want to get your take, TJ, because we've had a very divided damn board on Luke Musgrave and his decision. Where do you land on that?
Well, my first question is, how much NIL money is Luke Musgrave getting?
Clearly not enough. Carry on.
Right.
Carry on.
That's your answer right there.
Yep.
Okay. You could talk to a lot of scouts on a lot of teams. Luke Musgrave is going to play in the NFL. So he gets hurt. We don't know what the injury was. It's hurt in week 2. It was probably what would you guesstimate? 2-month recovery.
Remember
maybe what it sounded like.
I think that's what still makes me grit my teeth a little bit, TJ, is I could go back and find the press conference the following Monday where Jonathan's like, oh yeah, a week or 2.
Did he say a week or 2? I thought he said he's going to be out. I thought his wording was out for a while, but not out for the season.
Yeah,
which to me sounds like 2 months.
Well, because for a while there was that, Musgrave will miss the Montana State game. Maybe he could be back for USC. Maybe he could be back for Utah. And as we, learned that coaches are notoriously coy with injuries and getting even more coy. And, no knock on Jonathan for being coy. He plays the game as good as anybody does. I think that's why he's a successful head coach. But the Beavers, kind of like Chance Nolan, just sat on injury information. And that's unfortunately just kind of the way college football is working right now, TJ. And until there's more money going into sports betting, particularly in college, where the injury piece can significantly impact that, I don't think that's ever going to change. But I think that could ultimately change it.
It could. I usually take the sides of the players, and I'm doing that with Luke Musgrave here because for a guy like Luke Musgrave, he's potentially going to make millions of dollars in the NFL. And if I had gave you the opportunity to go make millions of dollars next year, and you had to worry about re-injuring yourself, and you're not getting compensated for doing it otherwise, would you do it?
No.
Would you do it? Okay, there we go. That's the answer. And I know most of the damn board, if there's like, okay, well, you're promised about $5 million next year, But if go do your current job, which you have the option to sit out of if you want to, that you don't get paid for, by the way. Oh, if you bust up your knee again, you're not getting $5 million. In fact, you will get $1 million instead. You're going to be like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I'm going to sit out.
No, I
Is
mean,
like it is really
yeah.
easy. It is really easy to sit in the stands and tell these players that they're not working hard enough and that they're not like they don't care about the program enough. They know like what their goal is when they go play Division I college football at a
Right.
Power 5 level. They're trying to go play in the NFL. And when
Right.
you get that opportunity one time you get that opportunity. So I can't blame, a guy who's being cautious with an injury he might not trust,
Yeah.
which is what it sounded like.
Yeah.
I didn't like how Luke landed. I don't know if it was a hamstring because I thought when he came down, he was grabbing his hamstring. Maybe it was his knee. Who knows, right? But if it was a chance of re-injury, oh well, the combine's in February. If you can't get ready for the combine, no one's going to watch you work out. What about pro days? Are you healthy enough for pro days? Oh well, maybe not because he re-injured it. Right? There's a whole bunch of things you got to take into account, and
And
when all that money is sitting out there, you just can't.
Right. And I think that's the elephant in the room is, I've heard a whole bunch of people be like, how is, let's just use this person, how is a certain quarterback in Eugene thinking of coming back, yet Luke Musgrave is going to declare for the NFL? I've heard that posed to me this week probably 2-3 times. And as materialistic as it sounds, TJ, money. That's what it is. Money.
You know what they could pay that theoretical quarterback down the road? A lot. They could pay him, he wouldn't be under contract, but they could pay him $1.5 million to come back to.
So again,
go back to that university, which would be more than you would make year one in the NFL, by the way.
And again, I'm
not counting your signing bonus, but it would be more.
For sure. And I'm not trying to compare and contrast Oregon State with the University of the South. I think that's tough, and you're going to naturally be at some financial disadvantages. But with all that being said, I just think you have to look at things from a realistic standpoint. And like you said, TJ, I think you ask yourself the question you asked me. And as you posed it to me, yeah, if I was in that position and someone's like, you have the chance to make millions now, and even if, you follow through and he goes undrafted, that's still not a knock on his inability to make money. And I say that as, it's a slightly different example, but you look at like how Ryan Nall, I believe, went undrafted and then, signed on, found a few contracts along the way. The most famous example for Oregon State is, I remember very vividly, in different sport, but very vividly, when a lot of Beaver fans had some really strong opinions about Drew Eubanks declaring early, leaving Oregon State for the NBA. Drew Eubanks went undrafted, and it, maybe didn't look great at first, but looking now, TJ, looks like a pretty good decision for Drew Eubanks to be in Portland's rotation, right? So sometimes you just have to take a chance and, for everyone that's listening out there or anyone who's ever worked in sales, right? The betting on yourself aspect. And that is Luke Musgrave saying, I'm betting on me. I'm betting on my ability to do well in the combine. I'm betting on my ability to work harder than everybody else. I'm betting on my work ethic. And if it doesn't work out, I live with that. I played college football for 4 years. So with that, now I understand 100% where he's coming from. And I kind of have the same opinion as you that I think you just, honestly say, go get it, kid. And I hope you do because, he's a talented player. Could you, have the opinion? Sure, you'd like to see him back and you'd like to see him be the number one receiving target and maybe win tight end of the year or all these other things. I get that. But if nowadays the great equalizer, it seems, as we're approaching in college football, TJ, is getting guys to push off the draft if there's big time NIL money. And that, in this case, must not be an option for Luke Musgrave.
How much is Michael Penix getting?
Or if he is, then Luke Musgrave is just, it wouldn't be because I guarantee he's chasing the NFL because he wants a payday. Who wouldn't in that situation? And if there was an equitable payday offered to him, he'd probably return. But no, we were joking about it on Rip City Mornings this week, TJ. I guarantee, Boeing insert chairperson board member here is like, man, I really like that Penix kid. Can I can we give him like a cool mill to stay? And they're like, no problem. So I mean, I say that kind of
Right.
tongue in cheek. I'm partially joking, but like, am I really that far off from what probably went down up there, TJ?
There's no way he's back without a 7-figure deal, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree.
I know he wants to win. He'd probably love to go win a Heisman Trophy and bring them a Rose Bowl or a playoff appearance, which they could do next year. Year 2 under Kalen DeBoer, returning a ton of guys. But, you don't choose, especially as a guy like Michael Penix, who throughout his career, you can look at his career. He has had injury after injury after injury. So many. And he comes to UW and he finally has a full healthy season where he plays as well as you almost possibly can as terms of betting on yourself when you go and transfer.
Darn
and
right.
He's deciding to come back. I mean, think of it. If Michael Penix, if he went into the draft right now, he's probably going in the top 3 rounds. That nets you a signing bonus of anywhere from a couple of million to tens of millions, depending on how they view him. And maybe he gets picked in the first round if they really like his arm talent that much. I think he's got an NFL arm.
He does.
So that's not even a question. So if someone walks up to you and is like, hey, you get $1 million and you can come back and we'll take you back.
Now,
something a lot of guys consider.
Right? Well, and that's the thing is when
I can't blame them for it.
Is when you get offered that, TJ, and then the thing that's existed for years for those guys who do come back is taking out a personal liability insurance policy on yourself ahead of the season, which you'll see guys be like, here's an injury policy in case I have that knee injury that you talked about. Now, again, I just think it's like a, the judge scales, right? Weighting both sides. And it's like, if you can offer an injury policy, a bunch of NIL deals, and, success, that could maybe lean one player one way, even though like the NFL money is already there. So again, personally, TJ, I don't love that, college football has become this business. I think it will eventually take some of the shine out of the, sport that we love, but it's kind of like, it's just kind of like how society progresses, right? It's like you can either be a stick in the mud and try to fight upstream and be like, this isn't how it is. This isn't how it is. Or you try to say, okay, this is the new reality and figure out how it's best to support your university. Right. And I think that's where Oregon State needs to shift their thinking of maybe we're not going to be the best at this and maybe we're never going to have the resources to be the best at this. But we have people that care enough about the football program. We should be able to at least be competitive. And I think that's the gap Oregon State has to close, DJ.
We'll get into this more next week. But this is sort of just teasing what we're going to talk about a little bit.
It's going to be a great
like
pod.
You said, not getting left behind. I counted before the show. There are 71 FBS quarterbacks in the transfer portal. 71. The good ones are going to require money. And if Oregon State wants to take that next step forward, we keep hearing this talk, they're going to need a quarterback in the transfer portal. They're going to need one. And that might require you paying money. And I just heard a lot this fall about, like you mentioned, Oregon State is not going to get into the business of buying players and putting them in the locker room as they make 6 figures. No one else is making anyone. We don't want to ruin that dynamic.
Right.
But that's not going to win you games.
Not consistently.
Not consistently.
Again, you keep Jonathan.
Oregon State doesn't want to get left behind.
Yeah.
71 quarterbacks are sitting there in the portal.
Yeah.
71.
Yeah. Jonathan
70
Smith,
available, I guess, because Chance is there.
Yeah. Right. No, Jonathan Smith, Chance Nolan comes back, exits the portal, goes to Oregon State, TJ.
That would be a discount.
Yeah, that would be quite the turn of events. I don't see that happening, purely tongue in cheek. But no, you're right. And I think, that's going to be interesting because I think Jonathan Smith is the great equalizer. I think Jonathan Smith and his coaching prowess makes it so you can take some guys that are maybe a little more under-recruited and turn them into studs. That's, I think, what he's great at. But to get over the hump, you need to have that dynamic player at the quarterback position. It's a different game, but I will say this example, TJ. until the day I don't breathe air anymore. The Cincinnati Bengals before Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals after Joe Burrow. I understand it's the NFL, but even you could throw in Washington before Michael Penix, Washington after Michael Penix, USC before Caleb Williams, USC after Caleb Williams. The quarterback, it is the position that drives everything else. And if you have a game changer under center at any level, it gives you a chance to win. It gives you a shot, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that Oregon State didn't have this year.
What's Oregon State's record if they recruited Michael Penix instead of UW?
10-2 at minimum. They win one more game for
minimum,
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 10-2 probably, and probably knocking on the Rose Bowl. So
right,
yeah, and I think that's
just think about that.
Yeah, just let that simmer, folks. Let that simmer, and I think it's true, and it's going to be interesting because, like you said, we'll be talking about it next week. We'll be bringing on Dylan to really get knee deep into the transfer portal and also talk about the bowl game before I head down there next week. So, TJ, that'll go ahead and put a wrap on this edition of the pod. Like I said, it'll be a less than a week before we're back with our next one. We'll be getting back to it early in the week, as I mentioned, with the bowl game and whatnot. But again, to kind of put a bow tie on this one, TJ, a lot of awards for Oregon State, well-deserved, and, some interesting decisions coming up via the transfer portal. And my overarching point is this. Whether or not you believe JT Daniels was the guy last year, up for debate. But
Oregon in the portal State, again.
But Oregon State, quote-unquote, missed on a transfer quarterback last year. They can't miss this year, TJ. Can't miss.
Nope.
So with putting that giant rock of pressure on the program, it's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out. And, signing day coming up, obviously signing their 2023 class. BeaversEdge.com is the place to be. We got a great promo running on right now. You can join free for 30 days, get access to all of our premium content from the bowl game, obviously from signing day as well. So you definitely want to get involved and get on the damn board, talk some conversation. TJ, thanks for joining me as always, man. We'll obviously be back this next week and get deep into the Vegas Bowl, man. It's going to be exciting taking on the Florida Gators.
Let's do it. Hope the Beavers dice roll up the right way.
Yeah, mine too, right?
Just trying to think of a gambling reference there on the fly, but I'll come up with a better one next week.
God, yeah, you got some time. All right, folks. Well, thanks for listening to us on this edition of the podcast. We'll be back next week, previewing the bowl game and signing day.